Hello, Duke fans. Welcome in to the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show today and getting your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, as well as beat writer at Duke Blue Devils on SI, and your Duke Blue Devils are riding high right now. Duke last night with a 100-56 absolute demolition of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in South Bend. With the win, Duke improves to 26-2 overall, 14-1 in ACC play. Notre Dame falls to 12-16 overall and 3-12 in league play. Cameron Boozer tallied his 16th double-double of the campaign, 24 points to go along with 13 boards, 2 assists, and 3 steals for the freshman and the National Player of the Year frontrunner on 5 of 8 shooting, 2 of 2 from 3, and 12 of 14 from the free throw line. Duke attempted 38 free throws against the Fighting Irish, their highest total all season, made 34 of them, went 12 of 33 from the three-point line. Duke did. That's a 36% clip, and Duke shot 46% from the field. Cameron Boozer, pretty wild stat line. So at the halftime break, Duke was up 54-22. This was never a game. Cameron Boozer had 20 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 assists heading into halftime. The Notre Dame team had 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 assists. Wild stat line. Cameron Boozer did all that production we just mentioned in just 24 minutes of action. Duke forced 15 turnovers on the Fighting Irish. That turned into 23 points. Duke only won the paint battle 30-22, ironically enough, which is, how this team has been able to win games, but was never really a game. Duke was in the driver's seat the entire time against, one of the weaker teams in Power Conference basketball in Notre Dame. It was the worst home loss for the Fighting Irish since 1898, and Jon Scheyer is now the first coach in ACC history to beat multiple road ACC opponents in ACC games by 40 points. Duke has now won 5 in a row by an average margin of 23 points per game, and Duke now enters a bout on Saturday that could become one of the most decisive games of the season for the Blue Devils, just in terms of their seeding rank in the NCAA tournament. So this Saturday, Duke will face number 11 Virginia, the second place team in the ACC. Virginia at 25-3 overall, 13-2 in the ACC. That game will be this Saturday, February 28th at Cameron Indoor Stadium at 12 p.m. Eastern time, that tip-off. So Duke riding high right now, obviously coming off that win over Michigan 68-63 last Saturday. And all 3 of Duke's remaining games on the regular season slate are quadrant 1 opportunities. Duke will face Virginia at home this weekend. Then we'll face NC State on the road on March 2nd. Then we'll take on North Carolina back at home on March 7th to close out the regular season. And it's really difficult to see a team taking down Duke in the ACC tournament. This would be Jon Scheyer and his staff's 3rd ACC tournament title in his first 4 seasons with the program. Really difficult to see a team taking down Duke. But if Duke wins out, regardless of what any other team does, really difficult to see another team taking Duke over for the number 1 overall seed in the NCAA tournament and the number 1 team in the country, which is where Duke stands nationally right now. After that win over Michigan, Duke was number 3 in last week's AP poll, was the number 2 overall projected seed. The ESPN bracketology was updated on February 24th. Duke moved up to number 1 overall seed, which was expected, number 1 in the AP poll, which was expected. Duke's still not at the top in the net or at KenPom, but those changed so much. By the time this podcast airs on February 26th, Duke could be back at the top of any of those metrics because they change constantly. But as of now, Duke number 2 behind Michigan in both of those metrics. And, this Virginia team, I think, is a very interesting one to evaluate because they're what I would call a computer darling. Computer numbers are fantastic. Feels like that type of team that's kind of flying under the radar, one of the more under-discussed clubs in college basketball, but a team that's been in some predicaments throughout the season against some lesser opponents, but all in all, a team that, could make a run. They're very complete, probably the deepest team in the ACC, and they put together some really solid wins. So Virginia has won 9 in a row entering this game. Most recently took down NC State 90-61 at home on Tuesday. That was one of their better performances all season, but when talking about the computer numbers, Virginia is, like I just said, a computer darling. They're, according to KenPom, Virginia is number 23 in the country in adjusted offensive efficiency. They're number 16 in the country in adjusted defensive efficiency. They're a great rebounding team. Again, fantastic defensive team. 17th nationally in 3-point defense at 30%. 5th nationally in 2-point defense at 44.8%. second nationally in block percentage at 16.6. And a stat that we're going to start talking about more that was new to KenPom this season is average 2-point attempt distance, which, like we've said on previous shows, essentially just measures the average 2-point shot attempt, the distance of that shot to the basket that your opponents take on average. Virginia is 12th in average 2-point attempt distance defense. So again, a really, really long, really, really deep team, fantastic rebounding team, fantastic defensive team, and a team that will definitely, make Duke, put its work in down low. But Virginia's a team that's been in some predicaments, but all in all, the computer numbers really like it. In quad one, Virginia is 6-2. They're 13th overall in the net right now. 6-2 in quadrant one, 13-3 across the first two quadrants, 8-1 on the road, 14-1 at home, and 3-1 on neutral courts. Virginia is also top 15 nationally in wins above bubble. They're 12th nationally in wins above bubble at 6.31, which was a metric introduced to college basketball last season, but one that I think is going to become more important as time goes on. Essentially, what wins above bubble measures is taking a team's schedule and comparing that same schedule to the average bubble team, meaning a team, first four teams out for last four teams in, team sort of right on the bubble of the NCAA tournament, evaluating a team's schedule based on the average bubble team and seeing how many wins above what an average bubble team would get. So right now, top two teams in wins above bubble is Michigan and Duke, respectively. Michigan is number one in wins above bubble at 10.60. Duke is second nationally in wins above bubble at 10.49. Virginia is 12th, however, at 6.31. So again, they're top 15 in the net, top 15 at KenPom, 12th nationally in wins above bubble. The computer numbers really like this team, and that's when it comes down to it, those predictive metrics are going to really favor Virginia in terms of seeding. But just some of these games that the Cavaliers have been in, and some of the predicaments that could have resulted in some losses, sort of make them a really interesting team to evaluate, in my opinion. So they have 3 losses on the season: an 80-73 loss to Butler on a neutral floor, a triple overtime loss to Virginia Tech on the road, and a home loss to North Carolina. But they haven't lost since January 24th against the Tar Heels. But over its 9-game win streak, there have been some, competitions where, Virginia was really on the ropes of a really, really ugly loss. It took double overtime to beat Notre Dame on the road. It won 197 in that game. It only beat Boston College by 7. It beat Florida State by 3. And again, Virginia is stacking these wins. You can't hold it against the Cavaliers because at the end of the day, they're stacking these types of wins. But some of these situations they've been in, they've gone cold offensively. And, they're one of the most sound defensive teams in college basketball. But when that offense goes cold, which it has at times, they've been in some situations, but late game execution has been fantastic. We mentioned their depth. That starts with Tista Ritter, a 23-year-old freshman from Belgium, comes into college basketball this season, team leader in points and rebounds, averaging 16 points, 6.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists. But just so much shooting on this team, which is, kind of how Ryan Odom likes to run his teams. And Ryan Odom, obviously, his first year with the program, he sort of went all in on the portal with this team. But guys like Malik Thomas, Sam Lewis, Chance Mallory is a local freshman from Charlottesville, and he has been fantastic. Jakari White, guys like Dallin Hall, shooters like that he's been able to bring in. And, it makes this Virginia team a really, really dangerous outside shooting team when it's hot. And then he's got some really nice shot blockers and interior defenders down low. Like we mentioned, DeRitter, guys like Johan Grunlow and Ugana Onyenso. So a very complete team, probably the most complete team besides Duke in the ACC in terms of its depth, in terms of its strengths, in terms of how many different ways it can attack you. And from a matchup basis on paper, Virginia is probably the team that is most complete to beat Duke. You could argue North Carolina, but I'd argue Virginia is a more complete team than the Tar Heels. But we'll continue to be talking about this game more in depth as the week goes on. But Duke is riding high right now as the number 1 overall seed projected in the NCAA tournament and the number 1 team in the AP poll. A huge test incoming. Duke showed no signs of slowing down against Notre Dame. Again, over 40-point victory for the Blue Devils on Tuesday night in South Bend. But a new monster coming into Cameron Indoor Stadium. Duke has yet to lose at home this season. But a really, really big test incoming after the Blue Devils have cemented the number 1 spot and now likely control their own destiny for the rest of the season. We will continue to be talking about this game all week long. But that is going to do it for us here today at the Duke Blue Devils Insider Podcast, your daily podcast for all things Duke Blue Devils news. Just like every day, we thank you so much for tuning into the show and getting your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. Make sure to check us out at si.com/college/Duke every single day to get your latest on the Duke Blue Devils. My name is Hugh Strain, your daily host, and I'll see you tomorrow.